recording.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on wherever you are in the world. I love being able to say that. Welcome to the International Listening Association's second webinar in our 2017 series entitled Listening as the Key to Unlocking Interpersonal Conflict. And it's being presented by guest Carey Haslam from the United Kingdom. I would like to explain why you're going to find this recording in two parts. And that's because we had a minor glitch last week when we recorded it live on May 17th. For some reason, we did not catch the first 9 minutes of the recording. So we're going back and doing that again right now. And then in part two, you'll find the remainder of the presentation by Carey. And then she was gracious enough to stay online with us for another hour to do a discussion and Q&A. So you'll be able to watch that as well. If you like what you see, we definitely invite you to follow us on social media, the International Listening Association, where you'll get notifications of upcoming webinars as well. So let's figure out who some of these people are. Again, I'm Laura Janusik. I'm a professor at Rockhurst University in Kansas City, Missouri, also the McGee Chair of Communication here. I'm a consultant and I have my own practice at listeningtochange.com. I'm a researcher, and my research areas include listening cognitions, metacognitions, and pedagogy. I've been an ILA member since 1998 and president in 2010-2011. Next, for a really important person that we could not live without, we've got technological moderator and guru Phil Turpak. Phil, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Laura. It's always nice to be wanted, that's for sure. I am an instructor of communication studies at Northern Virginia Community College, which is one of the largest community colleges in the United States. I'm also a Virginia master teacher, having gone through that program in the Commonwealth of Virginia. My specialty area is listening and student success. And like Laura, I was also an ILA president. I was the president from 2015 to 2016.
Terrific. Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome.
And now we've got our webinar host today, who is Carey Haslam. Carey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a conflict consultant and practitioner, and particularly today I'm going to be talking about my work as a mediator. So I mediate in interpersonal conflicts with people at work, between managers and staff members, or between colleagues. I mediate in neighborhood or community disputes, and also in special educational needs disputes, mediating between local authorities, parents and schools. And I'm based here in London, so I'm speaking from an English perspective. I've been mediating for about 25 years, and it's one of the strands of my work. So I'm also a trainer and a coach and a facilitator. And at the heart of my work is an interest in how people communicate with each other. And so another aspect is around diversity, and I'm particularly interested in the impact of unconscious bias on how we communicate and how we resolve our conflicts.
That's terrific, Carey. And I know that I personally, and I can speak for Phil, I think, have had a wonderful time preparing for this webinar with you, and I've learned a lot from you. So I definitely would like to thank you for that.
Thank you. I think, Laura, just to remind people, one of the things we found in developing this webinar and in the conversations we've been having is some things get lost in translation between the United States and the United Kingdom. So please, to encourage people, if I say something and you don't know what I'm talking about, please let Phil know in the chat room, and he will raise the question with me and I will translate as best I can for you.
Terrific. Thanks, Carey. And why don't you tell us a little bit about today's objectives?
So I'm going to be speaking about the role of listening in mediation. And in order to do that, I'm going to start thinking about how we behave in conflict situations, and also the role of anger, which I think is the key emotion when we're in conflict. And I want to focus on 3 areas of listening that we as mediators do. So firstly is about listening to understand, so we can illuminate the heart of a conflict. Secondly, I want to think about introducing strategies to help parties listen to each other and also to move forward. Because as mediators, we're helping other people resolve their conflicts. And thirdly, I want to talk about how I listen to the internal dialogue that I have and then use clues from that to help open up communication with other parties.
I love that. So the internal dialogue and clues part is really fascinating to me. I can't wait to hear about that.
And the subtitle for the session today is Listening Like an Owl. And I think that owl's a great metaphor for the role of listening. Owls have very good hearing, but they also have great eyesight. And I think listening involves both ears and eyes. And some other things that make owls a useful metaphor: they map out their territory and they're able to see the big picture to get the overview, as well as to hone in on specifics, the details of a situation. Some people, I think generally accepted is that owls are very wise. I'm not always sure I'm able to practice that skill, but I think they're also very patient, and that is definitely part of the work we do as mediators.
Yeah, that's a really powerful image, to listen like an owl. And I love how you brought in the eyesight and the listening, and the big picture, and then honing in on the details as well. What a wonderful metaphor.
So I was going to start by thinking about what happens when we get into conflict. And if people think about a time when they've had a conflict with somebody else, I think we get into conflict because we miss something. And that is, we misunderstand, we miscommunicate with each other, we misinterpret something somebody has said to us, or we mishear a conversation. And that leads us to get into a conflict situation with other people.
Absolutely.
And generally for us, what conflict brings up emotionally is anger, and that's the emotion we want to spend a bit of time on. We would say that anger is a presenting emotion. So it's the one that you see in action. So you see people pointing at each other or shouting at each other. You see a foot tapping. You see people getting red in the face or kind of getting very agitated. And yet for us as mediators, it's what's behind that anger that's the clue. And we would say behind anger is a layer of hurt, a layer of need, and a layer of fear.
So, Carey, what is that we'll see anger on the outside, but behind the anger is probably another emotion that isn't anywhere near as explosive, but something that probably requires a little bit of empathy.
I think that's right. Forgive me for coughing.
Terrific, and not a problem, because I believe this is about where the second part of the webinar will begin. So we'll go ahead and sign off right now, and you can watch part 2 of the webinar. Phil and Carey, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.